Welcome to Awaken, episode 0.1.
Start. Okay, recording's running. All right, good. So
we finally got here, Bill. Welcome everyone to Awaken podcast. This is a podcast where we will be having conversations with interesting people, ideally. Conversations between ourselves about all things related to awakening within our consciousness, meditation, living fully and presently. Bill, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, what she said. Wellness and mindfulness was my tagline. But that's open to interpretation. See where we go with that. Yeah. This is episode 0 point something, everyone. We're just trying this out, okay? It's going to be fun. We're going to have some amazing people on, and you might not know it, but Jasmine is amazing. You might not know it yet. But if you've met her, you do.
If you guys could see me blushing right now. Thank goodness we have little animated characters, which Bill has amazingly animated. He is an awesome UX designer and has a very deep meditation practice.
As does Jasmine. And that's something we'll be talking about at some point. So, wow. We could talk about our aims for it and like what's going on in our lives right now, because I think that's relevant as well in terms of all this crazy moment we find ourselves in.
I am wondering about how short do we want this little intro to be? Like we're just recording right now. I guess that's 3 minutes, but depends on like, do we want to be a bit more succinct? Do we want to try again, or do we just want to?
I feel like this thing, if we keep at this, it'll grow and it'll get better. Yeah. And like, I don't want to be too precious about the first thing we do.
Just more about doing than, So having it be more natural than just like keeping on doing.
Yeah. It's fine. It's going to be lo-fi, and actually if we get too precious about it, we're going to get all kind of, we have to chop that bit out, and we just want this to be fun and lightweight and not a ton of pressure and editing and just let.
I think we should also mention that to other people as well, and talking about how so in this type of podcast that we're doing right now, it will be as minimally edited as possible. Yeah. We are here as friends just having conversations about things that we are finding interesting and learning from people who have perhaps knowledge that we don't have and other perspectives and life views. So that is the purpose of why we are speaking to you.
Yeah, exactly. It should be, it should feel open and inclusive and kind of an accepting kind of moment. Whatever happens, and that's fine. Like a Lorin Roche meditation. I've got a book for you actually, Jasmine. I was meaning to give it to you when we had this chat.
You had it last time actually.
Well, this is a different copy. It's yours. And, I guess I'm gonna have to post it to you now or something.
Well, that's very kind. Thank you.
For anyone listening who didn't see that with video, that was Meditation Made Easy by Lorin Roche, and it's an excellent book we've been chatting about recently. Read any good books lately, Jasmine?
I haven't been reading, to be honest.
Fair enough.
And maybe this is counterintuitive to what most people might like nowadays, but I think that practice is super important. So I feel like information that we read, if we don't integrate it, it's wasted. Like it's almost like wind rushing through your ears, and you didn't grasp it. You felt it for a moment when you read it. But for me, I think I need more in terms of practice.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. I mean, I guess I've been keeping up the practice. It's been stumbling a bit. Yeah, I didn't manage to sit yesterday. I was just too like, oh my God. And I've been working and then reading the news and then working and then reading Twitter and working and, going out of my mind. So I managed like 20 minutes a day and I felt tons better. And yeah.
What's really interesting is that there are a lot of people now doing yoga online to live stream. There's others doing like wellness kind of events too. I saw one of my friends, she is doing a monthly subscription to online events at home that you can do. And I think we're seeing more and more of that coming to the surface for people who need it. And actually, I feel like doing the same. It's cool. Really inspiring.
So just for context, for anyone listening at a future date, it is like week 1 of the shutdown here in Britain, in terms of the government's ordered us a few days ago to like not do anything social and don't go to the pubs, except he didn't tell the pubs they have to shut, so they're all being thrown under the bus but to his insurance buddies. So yeah, it's a very strange time. I'm already getting cabin fever, and it's been just a week, and I often work remote, so it's just kind of like it's weird. It's been feeling quite intense.
I think it's going to be a huge adjustment, even for people who, let's say, don't go out so much, but even just for the commute, it makes a difference when you're just even outside.
Totally,
And I have, for the past 2 weeks, maybe it's 2.5 weeks now, I've been self-isolating and really minimally going out. And actually quite the opposite. I've been enjoying it. I've been finding that it's a time to focus on ourselves. But this is also in the context that I have been feeling like I want to be on a retreat. So my wish kind of came true in that sense.
I guess it's been different because we've got a kid in school and now he's not in school, and family we're worrying about and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's kind of a weird point in time. I think that if anyone's listening back to this, in a year or two, it will be funny to reflect on that moment. And it's really interesting. I read a little thing from, I think it was F. Scott Fitzgerald. Someone shared it on Facebook, which I never go on, but I went on Facebook and I saw this quote from, he was living in the middle of the flu epidemic in 18, and he sounded like a ticked off boomer would now. Just this, I'm just drinking and I can't go out and it sucks. And very, very funny parallels. But we were lucky that time was worse. And people barely knew what a virus was. So
yeah. And actually, what's really interesting is a friend shared with me that during the Great Plague, that after Cambridge University had shut down, various different scholars, such as like Isaac Newton, ended up having the most productive time of their careers, actually laying the foundation for a lot of their principles. And so I think depending on how we see it, it can be a really remarkable time. And I think the best thing is to try and roll with it.
Yeah.
as much as possible, because stress lends to a lot of illness.
Yeah, like you say, that there's opportunities in this, and I did see someone tweeting about that same point you made, and then someone else replied, "Yeah," and he had a wife to look after him as well, which kind of is a fair point. Like, a lot of these great men got great work done because they had like a team of people behind them, like clearing up after their meals and cooking for them and all the rest of it, which we lack, generally speaking. But definitely.
Do you think they did have that? I don't actually know.
These so-called
really?
great men. No one bigs up their wives.
Yeah,
looking after six kids.
Definitely the wife.
Oh yes, Newton, that's great. I'm very, very happy about your theory of gravitation. Well done.
Yeah, actually, that's so true. And here's us having to cook for ourselves and so on. I feel like it's a really good time to like self-care in that sense, like, because everything is about, like, let's say you do get coronavirus. If you are healthy and have a strong immune system and essentially your body is as prepared as it can be, you're in a really good position. So regardless of if it does happen, and maybe you should think that the potential is that it does happen, that if like we've been cooking for ourselves like really nutritiously, we've been doing our meditation and various like different practices, even like the small amounts that we might be able to get in, that makes a huge difference.
Totally. And I mean, it makes mental health, like, it sort of really foregrounds it, like how important it is. And just like when you go on retreat, it kind of makes it starkly obvious what state your mind is in if you're stuck in a house on your own or with your close family for weeks on end, which will be interesting. I saw, actually, I didn't read his thing, but like a headline about Zuckerberg saying that he sees this as like the key thing here being like a mental health crisis potentially for millions of people. Because beyond,
you're really isolated. Like everything comes to surface.
Like
you
most
can't go
people just
anywhere,
aren't ready for,
and you're
for
afraid.
It's like all the things that they rely on. I mean, myself included, in some ways, the things that keep you going is social contact and laughs with friends and all the rest of it. And it's going to be much more of a challenge to get that in this state.
I think the more that people are becoming resourceful, for example, like a lot of the groups that I'm in, there might be a virtual like book club. There are people who are, there's a company that offers what you can do as a scavenger hunt if with your family around the house. You can also have like a Netflix and chill party with friends online, like watching it at the same time. Loads of different things like that, which I think is going to be seriously valuable. And can you imagine if we didn't have the internet?
Well, this would be brutal.
I think that would be
just really, really much harder. So lucky us. Absolutely. What a time to be alive. Fantastic. Good. And we have the resources of the of online Dharma and all these amazing podcasts and people to talk to as well. So I'm excited about that. And I mean, it's just, I feel like it's a real stroke of luck that we met each other and we started talking about doing this, months ago before this kicked off. It's all sort of fitting together in a real synchronous way right now, it feels. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and that everything is now kind of finalized until like just now, right?
Yeah.
Very good timing, perfect. Actually. Yeah. So we would like to hear from you. What are some of the things that you are interested in? Any questions you have about wellness, how to be resilient during these times, or anything else perhaps playing in your mind that you might wish for us to speak about and to explore. So, as much as we are having a conversation, it's really key that we're trying to really have a conversation with yourselves as well. And that is, I think, one of the main purposes. Otherwise, we could just have conversations by ourselves and not record anything. But later on down the line, it will be for us to look back on. But more importantly, for it to reach people like yourselves who might be interested in any of the topics that we're speaking about, and anything you might be struggling with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything to add, Bill?
I mean, I suppose it might be good to think about what our aims were with this again. And I mean, I'm trying to remember what we spoke about in terms of. I think the number one thing for me really is about keeping this very real and down to earth. In that, I want this just to be a normal kind of natural conversations between us, and you know, it'll be interesting when we have guests in. I guess it'll veer more towards interviews, but that the whole point of this, as I see it, is just to kind of capture a bit of the fun we've had chatting anyway, because I think that was part of the inspiration for this, was like every time we hung out, we were just like, this is fun, and it'd be cool to record this. We thought then later. And chatting with friends like Liam as well, it was just like, this is hilarious. Let's we could do something with this. So I think that's the kind of key thing, really. Like we've both done a few things in the like arena of mindfulness and wellness and that. And we can talk about those things, and that'll be interesting to people who haven't done that stuff, and then we can get other people in who've done other things that we haven't done, and hear about them. And that's really interesting as well. So I just see it as an opportunity to share this stuff, and hopefully it'll be of use to others. And it, like, I'm thinking about it in terms of it being bigger than the things that we know, because like, what would be the point if it was just us chatting about stuff we know about? Because and there's so many aspects to mental health that I on. Are we swearing on this thing? Yes.
Probably not. Probably not.
That I mess up on regularly, in terms of, like, I know a few things about meditation, but there's lots of psychology things that I just don't know about at all, and they trip me up so many times in relationships, and so talking about those, like the shadow sides as well, I think is really interesting, and the limits of mindfulness, and what it can do for you. Because I used to think it was the be all and end all, and I just know now that it's not. I think that's important as well, because there are lots of people getting into it now for the first time, and like getting really enthusiastic about headspace and similar, and then asking me, like, how can I go, where can I go next with this? I want to take it further. I'm getting value out of it. What's next? And that's a really interesting topic, I think.
Yeah. So actually, what you've just said, that I would think is important, is that how we're in a space where wouldn't say like Zen monks, because we just haven't had that time, but we are past the beginner's stage, and I think that's an area where people are not often speaking about as much. There's a lot more people at the start of the journey who are just interested and maybe have been doing it for some time, but it's not like a very serious practice. And I think the space where it's in between is the really interesting
and like
parts.
most people are, like, they've never done any meditation, or they're doing a bit of it, and that's where most people are. And like, Yeah, it's a really interesting one because I've been listening to a lot of like meditation podcast things recently, and most of the people being interviewed on those are the masters, and often it's a bit esoteric. It's a bit like, I mean, I love that stuff. I lap it up. It's really interesting, but it's like it's talking about what people have found in the very deep end of the pool, and so my ambition with this, if we're going to add anything new to that conversation, is to keep it real and to talk about the edges and the failures and the low level stuff, because actually that's where we spend most of our lives.
That's where we really struggle, and we feel like no one else feels the same, right? Because like often people are like, I just did my hour and a half meditation, and I didn't twitch, like no thoughts, pure calm, a white light. And it's just not like
it's
that.
The question, the really important question is how the hell do you integrate this stuff? How does it actually make your overall life better in this world? Because it's all very well doing a 20-day silent retreat and feeling all fucking zen and great about yourself at the end of it, but how do you how do you have that chat with your mother afterwards and deal with your getting downsized at your job, or the fucking coronavirus, or whatever else is going on in your real life, beyond the meditation hall? I think that's the really interesting stuff, and I don't know, I don't feel like it's talked about enough in these kind of rarefied realms of the Dharma podcasts.
I would agree. And they say like the small retreat is outside in the woods, like in the safe cabins and so on. But like the emperor's retreat is like in your home, between your family and you, between your friends, your work life. Like that's where
we do live in the world. We're not monastics, and that's the other big question really for the 21st century, as I see it, is how do we bring these things out of the monasteries into the real world? We've had only 40 or 50 years of that, and there were 2,000 previous years of monastic stuff. So it's really just the very start of that, as I see it. We had the first generation of teachers over, and then they all like slept with their students and caused great scandals, and it's all kind of coming out now. And so we've got a second wave of Western guys, and some of them are doing that as well. And it's just kind of the sort of typical guru chaos,
I don't know any of that side. But probably that's another day where you can go into specifics of
it's very funny.
What's like what.
It seems to be just the norm, basically, rather than the exception for like any kind of spiritual master guru type over here who's sort of been a name and had a following and started an ashram or whatever. It seems to be the norm.
I have never heard of that, but we should definitely delve into for the pitfalls of people like myself and anyone else listening who don't know about that stuff and maybe want to go to an ashram and might be vulnerable subjects.
Yeah. It's hilarious. I mean, there's people that maybe we could get someone and who could tell us all about it, because I haven't even read the books. I've just kind of been picking this up recently as I tried to understand enlightenment better, really, just digging into sort of. So I picked up this book. Well, was forced to read this book basically by my brother, by Daniel Ingram, Mastering the Core Teachings of the Buddha, and he talks about this stuff quite a bit in his book and in interviews and stuff. And it's because it's about the limits of this stuff, right? Everyone, when the first wave of teachers came here in the 60s or whatever, people basically understood them in this religious way, that they were akin to these fictional characters in the religious books. Like, well, I don't want to insult anyone by calling Jesus and Buddha fictional, but they probably were essentially fictions made up of other stories and so forth. That's my opinion anyway. And they're great stories, right? They're amazing stories, but they probably didn't really walk on water and heal the sick with a touch and turn water into wine. I only know the Jesus stories. There's lots attributed to the Buddha type figures as well, right? Who could walk through walls and sit in midair, and this supernatural stuff that it may all well be true, but we have absolutely zero evidence of any of it, and no examples of enlightened masters today who can do any of that stuff. So personally, I think it's unlikely. So that's sort of like a really interesting thing to me anyway. What are the limits of enlightenment? What does it actually get you if you pursue this for your entire life, like many of these teachers have done? Do you become perfect in every way? Do you have a limited emotional range where you can only experience, joy and love, and all the bad emotions are left out? Does any of that stuff happen? Or are you actually just a schmuck like the rest of us who has some insight into reality? And it seems to be the latter from most of the people who've really been through that. They've spent 50 years meditating in monasteries or caves or their own home, and they've taken it about as far as you possibly could as a human being in terms of they've done the 20,000 or 100,000 hours. They're about as enlightened as you could possibly get. Can they walk through a wall? No. Do they still have arguments with their missus? Yeah, they probably do. Are they perfect in every way? Do they always know the right thing to say? No. Can they heal the sick with a touch? No, sorry. Is this that side of things? I think is really interesting.
Yeah, so like in what you had said in the Altered Traits book by Davy Richardson, there is like a study where they got one of the masters from I think Nepal. We can quote it right afterwards, but when they plugged him up to an fMRI scanner, what they actually found was that they told him to do a specific type of practice, which was like one of the meditation styles, and it was not something he practiced, and he got the exact same result as anyone who had not really practiced that before. And they didn't see any difference, and they were expecting it to be amazing. But when they asked him to do what he's trained in, which was, okay, turn on your compassion, and like within instantaneously he could feel and embody within his brain, it could show that he was completely compassionate. And I think different meditation practices give a specific result, and that's not to say that I definitely agree it's probably unlikely that we do become perfect, probably because we're human, unless we actually get to the place where it is you do become some form of perfection. But I don't know when that exists. Like, I don't even know if there's anyone enlightened right now, because maybe I do believe that there is that form, but maybe that's just because of the way that the things that I've heard from when growing up.
It's a great question. I mean,
it's interesting.
If there is no one enlightened today, then what the hell is the point in all this meditation? Like, if it doesn't work as it says it should, because the whole point from in the early Buddhist literature was this stuff works, it gets you enlightened. Buddha is proof of it, and look, all his bloody followers are also proof of it. They're all arahants. I haven't dug into that literature, but there's hundreds of them, and they did the practice, they did what Buddha told them, and they got enlightened. And for some of them it happened in like a moment, some of them in a month, some of them in a few years, but that's all like in that record.
But maybe it's just that it takes us longer now because of the complexities in life that we are experiencing. Like, I think that could be completely true. Actually, maybe not if you're a monk, but maybe they just don't want to tell us that they're enlightened either. And maybe that they are perfect.
Well,
but we don't
lots
know
of them,
because we don't know them.
apparently, in some countries, it's quite normal for monks to have like an honorific that basically tells you their level of attainment. And most of the sort of the masters, the people who are like the top of the monasteries, the venerable Ledi Sayadaw or whatever, that they have an honorific, which means, yes, this person is enlightened. They've reached that stage. Yeah. I didn't know this until I read Ingram's book. And they don't exhibit.
Well, that's reassuring.
Well, it should work, right? That's the whole point.
I mean, it makes sense, yeah. If you've been studying for an exam for the entire time and the teacher tells you how to learn it, like a math test, and you've been studying like your entire life and you still don't get it, oh yeah, that would be a bit of a shame, to be honest. And it sounds also like unreasonable too.
Apparently it's worked for those people, but also they're not perfect people. They haven't become like, well, and they don't exhibit supernatural powers either. That they've changed something really fundamental about their brain chemistry, or however you want to frame it, but they are not like emotionally perfect. For instance, they still experience the full range of human emotion. They might deal with it more skillfully than others, but they're also capable of moving to the West, starting an ashram and sleeping with all their students.
Actually, I don't know if they necessarily, well, dependingly, but I think that if they are at that place, they're probably more unlikely to do that, to be honest. There's I would think like almost close to zero chance that if you did get that title that you would, because you're a master. Like, I don't think people just call masters like for like no reason, just because they're like they can fall to the desires of their like whims. Like, I'm sure that they've been tested so many times
into those
before,
stories.
let alone
another time. I've got
another time.
But this has been so much fun, as
Me
expected.
too.
So thank you. And I think that was episode 0.1.
0.1 because it's only a piece of
I'm
one,
just
or what
using
does
geeky
0.1
software
mean?
talk. It's like the alpha version. Yeah, I don't want to call it version 1.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And then, but it could be like 0.01. Exactly. You get like 100 before you actually
like
at 1.
Gmail was in beta for 10 years or something before it got properly released. Something like that, yeah.
Really?
All right. High fives across the universe. Amazing. Cool. Good. Well, we've... Yeah.
And wrapping this up...
I'm letting you think there. This is a pregnant pause, listeners.
Oh, we're gonna edit this out. Like, there's such a long pause. What do I want to say? Yeah, I still think that it would be interesting, even though we are having conversations in ourselves, like, to have maybe some areas where we can talk about. For example, they're like topics given in by readers or listeners, sorry. And I think anyone who is interested, write to us and we will be friendly and message you back.
I promise.
Maybe shout you out when we're small time still. And let's continue the conversation. Welcome to the Awake In podcast. This is Bill and myself, Jasmine.
Signing off.
0.1.
Check back soon for an awesome guest interview. Hit that, smash that subscribe button. You know you want to.
Yeah.
Oh God,
Press subscribe.
what a world we live in. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do what you like, listeners. Do what you
like.
Just
subscribe.
don't listen to us. All right, that's the main thing. Just question everything, right? Do what you like.
I mean, yeah, do what you like, but if you do like us,
Yeah,
be
somehow,
sure to
in a manner of your
express it.
choosing. You're free. All right. Till next time. Cheers.
Okay. Bye.